All right, how do I find... how do I even find... Oh, okay, I am streaming. Sweet. Mute. Oh, the video looks much better here, doesn't it? Holy cow. Okay. Alright, cool. Cool beans, cool beans. Does chat work now inside of here? Oh, yes! Chat works inside of here now, so I don't have to keep that open. Yeah, I can sign in right there. Sign into chat. Well, I don't... God, this is... Okay, fine. There we go. So we got the chat here. Yes, it's very good. Oh yes, that's sweet 1080p. Sweet. All right. Cool. So we're back. Hello. Hello. I see you. You're good. Okay. I don't even know. Does it tell me how many viewers I have and stuff? What is that? Upstream info. Okay, cool. What is this? View your live stream in a web browser. Whoa. Inception. Okay. Go to your dashboard. No. Okay, sweet. This feels good. Live chat. All messages are visible. Will TanStack Router evolve to the next Remix competitor? No, probably not. Sorry to disappoint, but I'm not interested in doing full stack stuff. Really what I'm hoping is that what I do with TanStack Router will just influence Remix enough to where they will take some of these features more seriously. Like type safety is a big one, but I mean they would have to rewrite so much stuff, or just re-architect so much to make that happen. Search parameters are another one I feel like could be way better, but it's really difficult. It's gonna be difficult to get Remix to move on some of these things because they're already serving an audience. They got a big ship. It's kind of hard to turn the ship. I'm mostly building TanStack Router for myself, and maybe other people will be interested. So we'll see. But I don't think that's happening anytime soon. I wouldn't count on that. What the heck is this? Okay. Looks like there's like 12 people here now. That's great. Do you need to get down? Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do you need to get down? Do you need my help? Okay, hold on. My dog needs my help. So I will be right back. All right, where were we? So yeah, so we need to resolve this promise. We're never really rejecting, but I wonder if we should reject. So resolve match promises. All promise match promises. So I think, so inside of here we have a like load matches, check latest. So when we're calling load matches, yeah, we do want it to throw, but we swallow that one since we'll display the errors on the route components, yes. This load matches. So when we do preloads, we do want it to throw if there's an error. But if there's an error, then it's going to be captured in the error state of the match. Let's just go with not throwing, and we're just going to save those errors in the match state. But basically, what we need to do is do an early resolve, and then let the rest of the stuff keep running if we don't need it to. So like right here, if we are going to fetch, but there's a fetch count at least of 1, and the match status is success, it means the route is already loaded and we're not invalidating, just resolving with the existing lower data. Yeah, what it really means is we are resolving the route because it's all good, baby. And then we're going to keep going and increment the fetch count in the background. Yes, do all this loader promise stuff. And then we're resolving to the top level, but that's fine. But this stuff's going to keep going. So this is if match is fetching, then we just return. Yeah, we just return what's going on there. Actually, we can't do that because if the match is fetching, and there's not a match fetch count, we just need to consolidate some of this. Is really what we need to do. So there's a couple of situations here. Let's see, there's background refetching, there's a critical fetching. There's critical fetching, and then there's no refetching, no fetching, background fetching. So we'll kind of need to handle all three of these use cases. So the way we're going to know if we're doing a background fetch is if we have a match fetch count and the match status equals success, that means we have data and that everything's okay. So that means we need to do background fetching right there. Otherwise, we need to do critical fetching. Now, it should refetch, should load is happening down here, which kind of makes me think that we need to hoist that up. So if this is the case, background fetching, then what we're going to do is we're going to call fetch, but we're going to resolve. If we're doing critical fetching, then we're going to call fetch, we're going to await fetch, and then we're going to resolve. And if we're not fetching, then we're just resolving. So I guess we're just always resolving. And fetch is where we're going to have all of our fetch logic. So all right, fetch. And all of this, I believe, needs to go in this fetch. So let's just grab all of this. Update match only needs to happen inside of the fetch. So we'll put all that inside of here. See, not as many viewers on YouTube because it's just not on Twitter. It's not being advertised on Twitter. So, whatever. Maybe I need to advertise it more. Move to YouTube. Retweet. Quote. Hey all, I'm live streaming some work on TanStack Router. Come hang out. Alrighty. Just gonna check my notifications. There, we'll probably get some more viewers now. Please, are you going to make the repo you are working on available? It's available, buddy. You can check it out right here. github.com/tanstack/router. Booyah. If you want to get the marketing, you go to tanstack.com/router. Okay. So we have everything inside of our fetch now. So we're only in, we're going to fetch. So this fetch shouldn't be calling resolve in any way. Well, I lied. Because there is a pending thingamabob that we have. There is a pending thing. How are we going to do that? Okay, so what we need to do is we might need to move this pending out. So we have let did show pending in milliseconds if pending promise. So this stuff right here needs to probably be moved out of the fetch. So we have pending promise up here, and that's great, but it's where we're coordinating the fetch right here. So if we're fetching in the background, we don't want to do any pending garbage. It's only for critical fetching that we want to do pending stuff. So I think what we want to do is put pending stuff right here. And let did show pending, this stuff's going to have to be hoisted up. Pending promise? Where did that come from? Wait a second, hold on. If the route has a pending component, forcefully show the pending. Hold on, I took the wrong one. That's coming from, so we're saying, hey, if there was a pending promise, which would have been set right here. If there was a pending promise, but we already knew that up there. So we can move this stuff up. Did show pending and pending mid-milliseconds. We can move that up to where we're doing the pending stuff. Pending promise. So here we already know we have the pending promise. So let's put this right here. Let's get rid of this match fetch count. And then we put this then on the pending promise. And then we need this stuff to live up and outside, because it just, pending promise could be undefined, but then it can get set. And then we have your fan sounds like Hypnotoad. What fan? I don't even have a fan running. I have a fan running? No, I don't. Hold on, let me monitor. Monitor. I don't know what that sound even is. It could be like some power. Yeah, it's my power. It's like my power cable, I think, and it's off. How about now? Can you hear me now? You should be able to hear me now. Good now? All right. Because I can't hear myself, like my monitoring isn't working, which is really strange. I can test it with the hardware, but okay. If you guys can hear me, then that's great. I don't really care about hearing myself. Okay, so we move this stuff up because we could have a pending promise, and that's only going to happen if we're not preloading. We have pending milliseconds configured, and we have some type of a pending component to show. And there might be a bug there that somebody reported, but we're gonna just keep going. And then we say if we did show the pending, we need to know about it. Pending min milliseconds needs to be up here as well. So pending milliseconds, we'll put right there. And then we should be good. So if we're doing any of that stuff, we say, hey, make the pending promise, set timeout, and then if we need to check for the latest promise, and if it's been outdated, we need to return. Hold on, I feel like this needs to return the latest promise. Yeah, return. I think we're awaiting. Yeah. Await that latest promise. So we need to ignore outdated promises, then return. We just return it inside of here because we're already in promise. And then did show pending we set to true because the timeout, it ran out to show pending. We show the pending, we update the match, and then we resolve because we want, the resolve is going to say, hey, show, like start rendering, like complete the load matches function. And so this resolve is the same one that should be coming from right here. But we only want to do all that preload stuff. So we have all the preload information here. Why don't we just do a should do pending. Should pending. Const should pending. And then we're going to take this and we're going to move it down here, because we only want to do the pending stuff for critical fetching. So critical fetching, if the route has a pending component, and we'll just do this. If we need to potentially show a pending component, start a timer to show it after pending milliseconds. And then did show pending true, and then nothing inside of here is going to like do pending stuff unless we did show the pending. So if we did show the pending, there it adds a little bit of an extra promise in there with the pending in milliseconds. And if it did show the pending here, and there was pending milliseconds, and we did show the pending, then what is this? Set store. If we showed the pending component, that means we already moved the pending matches to the matches state. So we need to update that specific match. We don't need to do that now because I'm tracking where that is with update match. So we can actually just do update match. Finally, update match, but then it's going to update match here. Yeah, we'll leave it like it is because I'm pretty sure it's working right. Okay, so background fetching, we just fetch and then we cruise. So we need to make sure that inside of our fetch function now that we are, let's see, fetch, that we are resolving when we need to. So comparing depths. Okay, so right here, if we shouldn't load, if we shouldn't load anything, if we shouldn't do anything, then the load promise gets resolved to the match loader data, because the load promise we created and load promise is being used where? Oh, the load promise is what would be thrown from matches. The load promise. So the load promise is kind of, it's basically, the load promise is basically the suspense promise. So if we're fetching, and if we're already fetching and we don't have any data, then if we're already fetching and we don't have any data, so what was this? If the match is fetching, then just return the load promise. Yeah, that makes sense. It's not an extension that makes that sticky. It's actually just in VS Code. So there's like a sticky scroll setting inside here on appearance. Pretty sweet. I don't know. Must be a pretty great plugin if it can just be right in VS Code. What the heck is that chat box? Get rid of that. I don't want the chat box in there. Okay, back to this. If the match is fetching, so if we called fetch, if the match is fetching currently, we just want to latch on to the existing promise. So load promise just needs to equal whatever the latest promise is. So that's great. But if we already have data, if match is fetching is already fetching, why load the promise? Well, we're not loading the promise. It means that we're calling fetch again when it's already in flight. Like that there's already a promise in flight that went out to the network. We just want to latch onto it, just like that. But if there's already a fetch count, if it's already been fetched, we just kind of always want to resolve. Like if we've already decided that we need to fetch, if we've already decided that we should load the data, and it needs to be loaded, but the difference is if we wait for it or not. So we do want to resolve here, but we need to, we're not going to do that inside of here. So anything inside of here that's awaiting is going to make it load. So, but it's going to make the fetch await, and that's fine if the fetch awaits, because that we're handling that down here. So what we need to do is, yeah, okay, right here. If the fetch count, this is basically what we were doing up there. So we don't even need to do that inside of there. So the fetch is just to handle the actual fetch to go and get the data. And if it's already fetching, we latch on to the latest one, and if not, we go and do this shenanigans right here to go and get. So, but we haven't compared the depths to see if we should load yet. That is a tricky one. So we come down here, we say, okay, if we have fetch count and it's at success, then fetch in the background. Potentially fetch in the background if it needs to. If we do this, critical fetching, well, critical fetching is going to happen. We'll detect critical fetching, and the should load will always fire for we need critical fetching. And we'll await it right here. So then we come into fetch, pending promise. Why are you not being used? Because you're outside of scope, right? No, it is. Pending promise. Where was pending promise being used? Pending promise. If should pending, set the pending promise here, and then await the fetch. But then where is the pending promise inside of here? Pending promise. We should be awaiting the pending promise inside of here. Right. I guess we don't need pending promise anymore. Because if we need to show the pending, then we're doing we're just creating a new promise right here that's just running kind of on its own. And then saying did show pending true. And then inside of here, if we did show the pending, then we show the min pending. Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's test this out. So our thing is, first let's turn off all of our default preload. Let's turn off all of our preloading just to make sure that our fetching is making sense. So click on this. It's suspending until we get it. Our posts are refetching every 3 seconds, which is great. Clicking on a post over and over doesn't refetch the individual post because we have it set to should reload false, but it will reload posts every 3 seconds if I'm clicking on this. So that all looks to be great. So let's turn on prefetching now. Now the trick was that we needed to hover over posts, and if we click it again, let's see, if we hover over posts and click it again, it doesn't fetch. But if we click it every 3 seconds, it will. All right, hover over posts. And it's been 3 seconds, so it should refetch in the background now, but it should show it instantaneously. And it did. Hallelujah. Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. Very cool. All right, what do we need to do next? How many people are here now? 25? Oh, another loading mechanism? Okay, so let me recap what I just did for people who weren't here when we started. So, we're not using React Query at all. We're not using anything external than the router, right? It doesn't do any long-term caching out of the box. That's Query's job, React Query's job, okay? Because there's a lot of complexity that comes with that. Still while revalidate and max age and all that stuff. But the router does do ephemeral caching, okay? So here's the basis of it. If we click on posts, and then we click around to these sub posts, the way that most systems, let's just call it what it is, the way that Remix works and React Router DOM is that if I click on posts, by default, moving around to these sub posts is not going to reload the data for the posts list because it's in a layout route of posts, right? And it's not what's changing. Only the post route is changing. Okay? And that's great. We do ephemeral caching that way too, so that as you move from these individual post routes between each other, the posts data, the list on the side, is staying there between these interactions, right? But see, it never reloads that post unless it has this should reload thing. And I think Remix has like this should revalidate thing. Yeah, should revalidate. That's what it's called. So let's see. It optimizes which routes data should be reloaded after actions and for client-side navigations. It's an additional optimization. It already optimizes which loaders need to be called and when, and it basically does that just by, I'm pretty sure that it just does that by like invalidating all of them. When you use this feature, you risk your UI getting out of sync with the server. Well, see, the problem is the default. Let's see. Remix will optimize reloading routes that they are of routes that are already rendering, like not reloading layout routes that aren't changing. See, so by default, they don't reload layout routes that aren't changing. So that post list on the left, once you get into posts and navigate around inside there, that list is not going to update by default. So it reloads them. Remix doesn't know which routes need to be. Okay, so let's see. In other cases like form submissions or search param changes. Okay, so if, hold on, I got a jet overhead. Remix doesn't know which routes need to be reloaded in this for search param cases, right? So when the search params change, they just reload everything. It reloads them all to be safe. This ensures UI is always stays in sync with the state on your server. See, but wouldn't it be nice if you could just tie your loader should reload logic to the search params, right? Okay, can the same logic be applied to when we have sidebar and we just want the route to pages listed on the sidebar, but the entire page does not have to load. Yeah, that's basically what we're doing. So it says this function should revalidate, lets your app further optimize by returning false when Remix is about to reload a route. If you define this function on a route module, Remix will defer your function on every navigation and every revalidation after an action is called. Again, this makes it possible for your UI to get out of sync with your server if you do it wrong, so be careful. Fetch or load calls also revalidate, but because they load a specific URL, they don't have to worry about. Okay, so let's see, how does this work? It should revalidate. Okay, so it gets actions, default should revalidate. Okay, so there's just like passing the default. Remix doesn't call every loader all the time. There are reliable optimizations it can make by default. For example, only loaders with changing params are called. So see, this is something where I disagree. Mostly because if you want to integrate with something like React Query, it's helpful to have your loaders getting called all the time, because it represents an intent that you need that data to be fresh. It doesn't matter if that data needs to be fresh or not. You can decide whether you want to fetch, but calling the loader, like, that's the best hint you have about the user's navigation of whether you need to, whether they need that data or not. So they're only calling this tasks def because it changes. Otherwise, it's safest to always return default should revalidate after you've done your specific optimizations that return false. I mean, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good default. It's just, I don't feel like it works very well with React Router. And I don't like only having the ability to return true or false. And I'll explain that. Current params. These are the current URL params that you get. So you can like decide on fine-grained if you want to like return. You can do that with TanStack Router too. Current URL, next params, form method, form action, use cases. Never reloading the root. It's common for root loaders to return data that never changes, like environment variables. In these cases, for this case, you can simply return false. Okay, so should revalidate equals false. Yeah, that's fine. You can also do should reload false in TanStack Router. Works exactly the same way. Ignoring search params. In other cases, when you've got nested routes and a child component, features use search params, like a search page or some tabs with state you keep. Consider these routes: project ID, activity. Let's say the UI looks something like this. Activity, search. The project loader, the activity loader can use the search params to filter the list. So visiting the URL, like activity search image, could filter the list of results. Maybe it looks something like this. Yep, you got your loader. Yep, finding all. Yeah, getting search params. This is great. Remix doesn't know if the parent loader also cares about the search params. This is why Remix does the safe thing, reloads all the routes on the page when your search params change. And see, we're doing that too. We're always reloading. We're just always reloading your loaders by default all the time. Even when path name changes and everything, because I just feel like erring on the side of just always being up to date is great. And sometimes people are like, oh, it's overfetching. It's so, give people a good mechanism to opt out, and that's what they've done. They've just not been as aggressive with their reloading as I have. So they're saying, okay, here's your loader. So the should revalidate will look like this. If it's a get and the current project parameter, project ID, does not equal the next project ID. So this is the part that I don't really like. I had submitted a request to Remix to be able to make update search params without reload. Yeah, that would be nice. So this right here is saying, hey, so they're saying we're always going to reload if all these things, except for if you compare project ID to project ID from the current parameters to the next parameters, then don't reload. Okay, so look how we do that in here. Let's just pretend for a minute. Actually, we don't need to pretend. We can go to the kitchen sink demo and go to the user route. Okay, and on this user route, we are using a search parameter to fetch this user. Now, by default, it's going to always fetch, it's just going to always fetch when that user ID changes, right? But see, if we wanted it to only fetch when the user ID changes, we can use a key. So we should use a key regardless, and return a little something extra right here, because by default route matches only take into consideration things that are in your path. Well, there's no user ID in this path, so it's going to think that every single user is the same route match. Not cool. So what we do is we return search.userid, and now we don't have to worry about that at all. Our router now knows that different user ID search params are going to result in different route matches, and that's not something that you'll get out of most other routers. Be able to say, hey, I got some extra information I need for you to uniquely identify a route match. Okay, and then so anytime that the user ID changes, it's going to reload. And in fact, anytime that we navigate, it's going to reload, unless we say should reload false, right? There you go. So now it's only going to reload when the user ID changes, when the match ID changes. If we didn't have this key, we would have to put should reload. You know, we could do something like CTX, and we get CTX search user ID. And we could just return that in an object and be like some deps. So whenever the user ID changed, we would reload it. But it's better to use the key for search parameters, because they're actually treated as separate matches. That way you can actually preload a user ID instead of preloading a single route match just with the latest user ID. So the other thing is that we have a user's route that has a search, right? And we're not doing the search on the server, but assume that we were. We would have search right here, and then let's pretend that we had a search and it was like search users filter by. Let's pretend that we should do that on the server. That's really what we should update this example to do that on the server instead of the client, because duh, that makes sense. Hi, yeah, welcome. So say we're doing this here. So that means that every single time that we navigate, it's going to be doing this search, right? But let's say we didn't want to update this search when the individual user is changing. You know, we only want to update it when the actual filter by is changing. So what we do is we say should reload search users filter by, and then we just put it in a dependency array. And if we put it in a what is this, user view does not exist on type, validate search users view should reload loader function. I might need to check the types on that. But if we put it in a dependency array so that it's only ever going to refetch when the filter by actually changes. And we could key the user's match to be very different depending on like all the different things. So we could just do a key and do the same thing here instead of should reload. And that means that that the user's route match, the one that has the list of users, is going to be considered unique from filter to filter, because it depends on the search params. And it's just more declarative this way. You define the dependencies that you have for a route. And it's really easy to define the dependencies for a route based on the path when you have everything in a path param. But when it's not in a path param, you need to be able to define those dependencies coming from search programmatically, right? So does a loader need an abort signal? It gives you an abort signal, and you can pass that abort signal along so that when you change routes, you don't get a raise condition. Yes. So let's undo all this stuff here and go back to the basic example. Okay. So back to the basic example. There is, I don't have it wired up here, but we should. Posts route. So here's the post route. Our loader, we get an abort controller. And then let's say signal, we can just pass the abort controller signal like that. Let's come to our fetch posts. Let's take that signal. Thank you. Take that signal, pass it to, oh, we're using Axios right here. Okay. Signal. Boom, bada boom. So, yeah, it has abort signals. You change routes in the middle of something, it's calling those abort signals. So, it's really cool. Let's get rid of that. Okay. So there's just a lot of knobs to pull on, right? A lot of knobs to change, to decide how you want to do it. But the trick was getting this all to work with preloading. Now I'm not exactly sure how often Remix is actually doing preloading. I think it's like when you, I don't know how, let's see, Remix preloading. Preloading resources, prefetch page links. This component enables prefetching of all assets for a page to enable an instant navigation. It does this by rendering link rel prefetch tags for the assets. Yeah, we don't have the control to do this at the router level, which is fine. So we just kind of do it in memory, or we trigger other external sources to do it in memory. Uses this internally, but you can render it to a new page. Prefetch page links. So you can say, hey, I want to prefetch to this path. I am actually not sure if Remix is automatically prefetching stuff for the next page. We could check that out if we go to TanStack Router. And we go to the network, clear that network. Clear. Okay, if I hover over docs. Yeah, see, I don't think that's actually like link rel. I know it's doing preloads in here. These are for like JS files, but I don't know if it's doing. Like if I hover over this, is it adding preloads like when I do stuff like this? I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. Docs. I mean, that was fast. TanStack Router. Table. Docs. I don't know. I don't know if it's prefetching or not. It probably is. It's a prop on the link component. Does it default to true? Remix link reload. Link preload prefetch props prefetch defines the data and module prefetching behavior for the link. None default to no none is the default, no prefetching. They have render and viewport. See, we could totally do that as well. We just haven't added it yet. It's really easy to do that though. Yeah, prevent score. Okay, cool. Anyways, the preloading is nice because, like, if we were to, you can kind of set max ages for your preloads now, right? And they behave the same way for how often do I need my data to be up to date, and we can do that without having a cache, like a long-term cache. We can do it with a short-term cache by using something like a dependency array. So should reload, and we return a dependency array of every 3 seconds. So if you watch the console, I'm going to just click here. I'm just clicking on posts, and every 3 seconds it's going to update. And then I'm hovering over these right here, and every single time that I'm hovering over one of these, it's also triggering that posts refresh, because I've said that I want my posts to be up to date at least every 3 seconds. We could back that off to what it normally is in this example, which is 10,000. Why are you complaining? Route implicitly. It's because I have the whole rest of the workspace open, like all the source code and everything. It's just kind of freaking out. Okay, so now I hover over these, and it's never going to prefetch those again on this route. but it will refetch posts every 10 seconds. So if I hover over something and posts like, hey, I'm out of date, it'll refetch. As soon as I navigate to another page, that preload cache has been wiped out. You come into state preload matches. So I can start preloading these again. So every single time that you click, that you navigate around, the preload cache is wiped clean, right? Totally fine. I think that's great because every time that you navigate, it's very well possible that something could have changed on the back end. So let's move on to something else. So preloading works. Before I move on, I just want to show it off. So we're here, we hover over posts, it preloaded, we click on it, it's instant. What's nice here is if we hover over posts, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Technically, it's now considered stale. And when we click on it, we're still going to get the immediate render, but it's going to refetch in the background, fetching posts. And if those posts had updated, they would just kind of snap in, kind of like React Query does. Pretty sweet, huh? Kevin says, wiping preload cache is always good. Well, your preload cache, it just depends on when you want to wipe your preload cache, I guess. I don't want to make users have to manage. I don't want users to have to manage the max age on a preload cache. It just sounds really lame. I think it's just better that when you preload something, it's available for the next navigation to it. And then after you navigate, you kind of just reset, you know? And you just reset your preload cache and then you start building it up again. If you never reset it, it would grow and grow and grow. You could potentially be holding a lot of data in memory that you'll never use over the course of a session. And then anything in the middle is going to take user intervention to kind of decide, well, when do I want it to? So I mean, at the very, if it becomes an issue, if it becomes something that somebody's like, hey, you know what, I want to control, I don't want you to wipe my preload cache between navigations. Well, you can prevent some preload fetches. The reason that these are getting preloaded, that these are preventing from fetching again, is because they're using the should reload logic that we have already set for when you navigate around on things. So should reload works for preloads and for reloads. Kind of cool. But I could see, so here's a use case. So I could see if you click, you come on a post, you hover over all these, you have them prefetched, you click on one, and then you click on these other ones and you still have to wait for it. They're not in memory, right? Whereas if you were using your prefetch cache, your preload cache, then I guess, I don't know, maybe a max age would be good. It wouldn't be that difficult. The DevTools panel? The DevTools panel is not hard to make, but you should wait because Arian, who did the DevTools for Solid, or sorry, for Query, he's porting them over for TanStack Router as well. So you should just take whatever he's going to come out with for TanStack Router DevTools, and you should just clone it and then change it, because it has all like the good primitives in there that you need to show some cool stuff. Query has some good stuff in there. It's going to get better. So I would use that. Just clone it. My big dream for all the DevTools would be there's one DevTools panel that then each library can register into that DevTools panel, so you have tabs. So it's just TanStack DevTools, and then if you're using Query, Query's there. It's a tab in there. If you're using Router, Router's a tab in there. You know, I think it'd be really sweet. Have them open at the same time, maybe. Like you could like side by side them, or 2 or 3 up them, something like that. So yeah, maybe clearing the preload cache on every navigation is a bad idea. How long should preloads stick around for? If we cache them forever. We just cache them until they're used. I don't know about that. Cause so see, when we come in here, we have like preload matches, right? And we're pushing that into the preload matches, and then every single time that we navigate, we're clearing those preload matches. Why don't we do this? Why don't we console log out this .state .preload matches .map .d.id d.id. Let's see, object from entries, and then we do d. No, let's do this. Let's do pick d. Yeah, sure. Pick all that. We don't need the ID status updated at. I want updated at. And loader data. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay, so I'm hovering over here, and I click on one, and it's like, okay, all these were updated at just barely different little intervals. So technically right here, I could say preload matches, just get rid of preload matches. If something moves into pending matches, it should move out of preload matches. So really what this is S preload matches. Filter, yes, pending matches, find, yep. If we don't have it in pending matches, keep it in preload matches. So const age equals date now minus time updated at. So if we don't find it in preload matches and the age is less than 5 seconds to test. Okay. So let's pull up our store state preload matches. Click. It's removing all of them. Shouldn't be removing all of them. Preload matches, filter, return. Gotta return. Okay, so we're on posts. We hover over all these. We only click on the first one. We should still have some preload matches. We hover over some more. We click on the first one. We hover over some more. We click on that. Hover over, click, hover over, click, hover over, click. It's not working. So console log this dot state dot preload matches. Actually, let's just move this down. All right, so every 5 seconds, if it's older than 5 seconds, yeah, see, it didn't stick around. So, oh my gosh, don't tell me. bad return. Oh, I should have been looking at the chat. Oh. Lurk, BRB, hey Tanner, wonder if it's possible to make transition animation between routes. I don't see any examples anymore. Was yeah, it is possible. I need to build some extra utilities for it, so you're going to have to be patient on that one. Every time I start working on a new project, I'm struggling with protected routes and middleware. Is there maybe any built-in middleware easy sort of working with protected routes? Yeah, protected routes. We need to make the example for protected routes better. It's just so much easier to do it all in React right now, because that's how a lot of these auth systems are doing it. They're doing it with React context. So when you try and do it in like loaders, it's like you either in SPA, it is so much easier to do all of your route in client-side React. But then when you go like server, you need to move it all like into loaders and like middleware and stuff. So even though we have loaders, we have middleware, we're tempted to put it there, but I still think the best place to do it if you're doing an SPA is still in React. So that's just my own, that's my take right now, but I still have to reconcile with some of that. Okay, let's try this again. So I'm on posts, I preload a bunch, and then I hit go. I preload a bunch, but then after 5 seconds I hit go, and then I hit go, and there's nothing there. Okay, let's try it out. 0, 1, 2, 3, go. 0, 1, go. 0, 1, go.
Just to confirm, you'd like to call 010?
No.
Okay, I won't do it. To who?
No, you won't do it to who? No, don't do it at all. Golly, you dumb. All right. So this is after we have done the pending matches. So it should just be working now. So let's see. If we're on posts, if we preload it, okay, if we're on posts, if we hover over one and we click on it, it should be empty because it went into pending, so we took it out. Okay. If we hover over 1 and 2 and then go to the 2, it should only have the 1 there. And then if we click on this again, it should be gone. If we hover over 1 and 2, wait for 5 seconds, and then we click on 1, 2 should still be there, but not anymore because it was gone. So let's try that again. We hover over 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We click on 1, it's empty. Okay, this works. I think that's fine instead of like killing them on every single. I think you're right, Kevin. Instead of killing them on every single one, and we'll just make this for now. We're just gonna do this dot options dot preload max age. But we need that to happen before. We need that to happen before we actually get it. So let's say we fetch something, the preload age times out at, it's not going to be 5 seconds, it'll be something really long. It'll be like, I don't know, we'll call it like 30 seconds. Yeah. We'll call it 30 seconds. The preload max age, 30 seconds. If it hits 30 seconds, we don't want to use it anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it up here. Preload matches. Oh, we were doing that after. No, we want to do it even higher. We want to do it before pending matches. So we want to do this dot store dot set state, and then we want to do pending matches. So right before we load, we want to, and if you don't have that set, no, preload max age, yeah, we're just going to default it to 30 seconds. No, right there. There we go. So right before we try and match the routes, we're going to check to remove all the pending matches. Hold on, pending matches doesn't even exist yet. Pending matches doesn't exist yet. We can call match routes as much as we want. But we need to call match routes to know what the pending matches are, and then after that we need to remove anything from. Okay, so if we call match routes, someone would ask for this option eventually. For the page transition, you can use framer motion. Yeah, you can use framer motion. But there's problems with like unmounting and remounting that you're going to need extra utilities for. So just keep that in mind. So when we call match routes, it's going to use any pending matches that are there. And we don't want pending matches to be used if they are older. So we don't need to do this here. If the pending match is older than the preload max age, then it's just going to be wiped away. But then pending matches. So once we have the pending matches, if the pending match took out of if the pending matches took out of the preload matches, sorry, this needs to be preload matches, then the preload matches now need to filter out not pending matches. Find the same ID. Yep. We gotta add this preload max age to the router. Preload max age number. Let's see, wherever we're documenting this, we need to add docs for that. So preload max age. Type is a number, it's optional. Defaults to milliseconds, 30 seconds. Let's describe what it does. The maximum amount of time milliseconds that a route's loader data, let's see, that a route's loader data will be cached for from a preload. Preloaded route data will be cached for. If a route is not matched within this time frame, its loader data will be discarded from the route, and the route will be its loader data will be discarded. Okay, got that. Got preload max age. We need to test one thing out. We need a 3-second max age. So should all be gone now. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4. Click on it. We've got all those. One thing we do need to test is that let's do this. Let's store batch. Let's batch these together. Previous matches. Pending matches. That's for sure going to get set because batch will run. And then, okay, I think we're good. Let's check the Twitters. The X. Let's check the X. All quiet. All quiet on the home front. Okay. Well, I think that covers it. No, I need that there. So, prefetching, preloading, basically done. I think we need to update the docs for this though. So, preloading a TanStack Router is a way to load a route before the user actually navigates to it. It's useful for routes that are likely to visit. So, preloading by intent works by using hover and touch start events on link. Let's see. Supported preloading strategies. Intent. Preloading by intent works by using hover and touch. We'll just say render coming soon. Viewport visibility coming soon. Sure. I think those are. In query, it's called GC time and stale time instead of max age, or is that because the cache is not removed for stale time? So stale time, yeah, we split them up in query because they do different things. Stale time is how long it's going to be before it's marked stale, but it doesn't get garbage collected when it's marked as stale. GC time is more like max age. Max age is just, it's hard to describe max age in query because max age of what? Max age of the data before it's marked stale, or max age of the data before we actually evict it from cache, right? So, I don't know. I just chose max age here because that's what it is. I'm not going to be too pedantic over it. So how long does preloaded data stay in memory? Preloaded are temporarily cached in memory until the next navigation. In memory. By default for 30 seconds. But can be configured. Default preload max age. I think I said default preload max age, right? Or did I just say preload max age? Nope, I want it to be called something different. Rename symbol. Default preload max age, mostly because you'll be able to set preload max age. Eventually, you'll probably be able to set preload max age on a route basis, but I don't want to do that right now until somebody asks for it. Nobody asked for it. Don't troll me. So preloading by default for 30 seconds is a good default. It can be configured by setting the default max on your router. If the route is loaded, I don't like the way that our matches are temporarily cached in memory. They are discarded unused preloaded data is removed after 30 seconds by default. This is a good default for most applications, but can be configured by setting. No, this is a good default. No. This, I mean, it is. I just want to be terse. This can be configured by setting the preload on your router. Obviously, when a route is loaded, its preloaded cache is promoted to the router's normal pending matches state. This means that the route will be cached for the duration of the user's visit to no. Those are the two ways that preloaded data exits. Unused data goes away after 30 seconds, or you can customize it, or as soon as when a route is loaded. It's not when you match a route, it's when you attempt to load that route. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Let's see. Yeah, we need this. If you need more control, over preloading, caching, and or garbage collection of preloaded assets, you should use preloaded data. You should use an external library. The simplest way to preload routes for applications is set the default preload option to intent for your entire router. This will turn on preloading by default for all link components in your application. This will turn on intent preloading by default for all link components in your application. You can also set the preload preload delay. By default, preloading will start after 50 milliseconds of the user hovering or touching a link component. You can change that. You can also set the preload delay prop on an individual link. Preloading supports data loaders and external libraries. It supports both built-in loaders and your favorite data loading libraries. To use a built-in loader, simply return data from your route's loader function and configure the should reload option and optionally configure it. If you'd rather use your favorite data loading library, keep the aggressive default behavior of triggered preload logic every time the user hovers or touches on a link component. Use your external library to control the actual data loading, caching, sharding. Sweet. Built-in preloading and should reload. If you're using the built-in loaders, you can control when a route is preloaded by setting the should reload option on a route. We talked about this. It's respected for preloading in the exact same way as it is respected for normal route loading. If it's set to true, it will always be preloaded whenever you hover over it. If it's set to false, it will only be preloaded if the route is not already preloaded. This is useful for routes that are not likely to change often. If should reload is a function and returns true or false, it will be preloaded based on the return value of the function. If should reload is a function and returns a dependency object array, the route will be preloaded if the dependency object has changed since the last time the route was preloaded. Sweet. Preloading with external libraries. Let's do an example right here. Example. Import router, come on, new router, default preload intent, routes. You got that one wrong. Const route, and let's just say post route equals new route. Come on, catch up, Copilot. Path. Nope, that's wrong. Actually, do we have any of those in here? We need to make sure that we don't have any of those in here, because that would be bad. Nope, not you. Yep, $. We use a $sign because I learned from Remix that the $sign is a little more friendly to terminals, file systems, yada yada yada. So I decided to just use the $sign for everything. Preloading. Okay, so we got post ID loader, yes, loader. Well, we're not going to do any of this. We'll just say params. Sure, we can do that. Return fetch post params by ID. Okay, should reload. Only reload the route if the post ID has changed. That's already going to happen. That's a bad example. So what we could do is we could say return math floor date now divided by 10,000. And we'll say preload the route. It wasn't different than last time. Preload the route if the cache is older than 10 seconds. Boom. There you go. Yeah, I like it. Preloading with external libraries. Preloading manually. Yeah, you can just preload route like that. It's great. All right. Well, I feel like that is good for preloading. I feel a lot better about that. I was writing the docs for like the reference docs, the API reference. And I got it all the way down here. This is a huge file. But I got all the way down here to preloading, and I was like, oh crap. Does preloading actually work the way that I expected to? And it didn't, obviously, because I had ripped out all the caching stuff, right? So now it actually works the way you'd expect it to. And it does this without React query and without adding significant kilobytes to the library. You know, like adding in React query would be a lot. We went up by 0.1 kilobytes. Actually, no, that's 0.5. Let's go back down. 0.7. So, I mean, between that and just fixing a lot of the loading logic in and of itself, we went up 2.2 kilobytes. So that's pretty dang good, if you ask me. Let's see. What else can we do? Okay. So really, I just need to keep writing API documentation, but I can take you through we can do some bug fixes right now. That might be fun. Lindsay, I updated this issue with a repo of the DevTools bug. Okay, yeah, DevTools bug. Do I want to dig into that right now? Can't read properties of null reading state. After upgrading the version, the router DevTools throws an error which is totally fine before updating. What is this? After upgrading from version 194 to the 200 DevTools, well, 204 is the last working version. Update. You need using inside of the route provider. We fixed this by wrapping. Then how can we use the DevTools? No. I upgraded to 273 for the DevTool router package decision now, whether I pass it inside the router or whatever. Okay. So what the heck is going on here? Let's check that out. So no, why did it do that? Okay, cool. Hold on, guys. I'm going to be right back. My puppy wants to come inside. This is Scout. Scout's a girl. She's a miniature schnauzer, and she's the best. Aren't you? She's a good hound. Too close. Too close, girl. Back it up. All right. Let's check out this this bug. So we've got DevTools here. DevTools is using use router state, and I think that's what's going on here is can I read properties null reading store? So trying to read store off of the router, and that doesn't exist because if we go to use router state, that is in the router context. Nope. Provider. Use router state is in here somewhere. So it's calling use router, and then it's trying to get the store off of the router. So use router is not working. Use router is doing resolve context. So let's check this out. If we're in the browser, then use one of these, TSR router context or the router context if it's registered. This is so I could do cross-package stuff in the browser. Or just use the router context. So let's, why is this even working? How is it working for me and not working for other people? I don't understand. I don't get it. Why is it working for me and not for other people? Works on my machine, right? That's what everybody says. Here's a repro. So he's got a reproduction here. It's just not working. It's getting an error. Console. Reload. Use router must be inside a router provider component. Use router must be inside a router provider component. Yeah, that is true. Okay, so we are getting that where? Inside of here? Can we do like router provider? Yep. Can we get down to here and just refresh? Okay, boom. Okay, the document does not equal undefined. There is a TSR router context. And then there's also a router context. Hello. Hold on, just checking my phone for something. Okay. All right, sorry, had to check something. When the family calls, you got to be there. That's what it means to be a dad. It's just you have to be ready to just drop whatever you're doing at any moment to help. It's great. And they appreciate it big time. So router context, where else are we using this window router context? Let's check this out. So we say, hey, if the type of document does not equal undefined, then set the window router context to the router context. Yeah, that's great. And then you know what? Oh, I wonder if this is happening twice. that is potentially, no. Do we have two different contexts possibly being created? I mean, I think that's a valid concern. So basically we need to say if document does not equal undefined and there's not a window TSR router context, then we're going to set it. Hold on, we need to do some other magic here. So when you say export let router context, I don't know how this is going to work, but we say if there's already a context, then we need to just use it. Otherwise, if there's not, we need to set it so that other people can use it. I don't know if this is going to work, but why don't we just try it out? Okay, I'm going to push all of this lovely code here, but we're going to discard. No, I want that. I don't want that. Matches. Okay. Are we still doing cause preload? I didn't actually check about that. Router cause preload. Yeah, we are. Okay, that's valid. We're still doing cause preload, so that's good. Router provider. Yeah, that's what we're fixing right now. Get route match. I don't know why you live here. I should probably put you in a different file. Route. Good. Router. Default max preload age. Preload matches. Fix. Everything is good. Everything is good. Everything is awesome. Preloading. Yeah, we'll just update all this. Okay. Fix preloading and potentially fix DevTools context. Pull. Push. Okay. Let's let that release, and then I'm just going to test it right up here inside of this, because it's just the only place that I know that is working. So we're going to let that release, and we'll just move on to something else momentarily. So let's see. Whoa, there's a hot module reloading issue, looks like. Preloading works, and it's so cool. Instantaneous navigations. Actually, one thing I did want to do is update the kitchen sink. Kitchen main new router. I did want to do default. Let's see, intent. No. Preload. Default preload. Intent. And then let's check this out. All right. Dashboard. Invoices. Users. Boom. 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 Wait. I knew this was going to happen with preloading. Peace. You peace. That's fine. This is actually just a bug. Not even a bug. We just need to educate people about this. So it comes back to the user route, the thing that I actually just discarded this change. But we have a loader. We're using the user ID. But what we need to do is we have to add the key that has search.userid. We have to do that because why are you okay? We have to do that because it was preloading the next route using the match ID of /users/user. For every single one of these, we'd hover over and it was changing the underlying data for /user/user. And that's just that's not how it works. So now if we come into each one of these, so you can see, actually let me show you the difference here. If we take off the key and we reload this page, look at the match ID for each individual user. It's all just users/user. That's not good. So, and if we look at our preload, if we look at our state preload matches, I hover over these and it's never preloading because it thinks that this route is still the same one that's loaded because it has the same path. So and this is another thing, is it's ridiculous to think that complex applications are going to put most of their hierarchy or their data or their identification into a path parameter. There are many use cases, I have some inside of Nozzle, where we don't even use the ID for the thing we're looking at inside of the path. It's structured like this. I made this for that reason. We say we're looking at dashboard/users/user. We're looking at a user, and the user ID happens to be in search parameters. That's just where it is. And so you need to be able to uniquely identify this route and say, hey, I'm using a search parameter. And you know, the way that I had it before was that if you wanted to use the user ID search in your loader, you actually had to pass it through a loader context, and it would do this for you automatically. So you're like, so there was no other way around it. What you would do is you'd say, well, I need user ID in my loader function. And it's like, well, it's not there. Well, how do I get it? Well, the only way to get it is to put it into the loader context. Well, how do I get it in the loader context? You would say loader context, right? And then you would grab search, and then you would put user ID right there. And then you would then you'd grab this user ID out of the search or out of like the loader context, where I can't even remember how we had it. But because you made the user pass it right there, now the router would know, hey, they're relying on the user ID search parameter inside of the loader. So anytime any of this stuff changes, or in fact, not even anytime it changes, let's just stringify that entire object right there and use that to identify the match. In fact, that's so much better than a key. It should just be that. If you want to use search parameters inside of your loader, you should have to identify which ones you're using. And you should have to pass them like this so that we can uniquely identify the match that you're getting. And that way you don't get into situations where somebody says, well, I've got this path and it doesn't have, and then I have the search parameter right here that I'm using in here, but the preloading is acting weird, and it's just not, it keeps like updating my data behind the scenes, and I don't want it to. And then I have to come in and be like, oh, let me look at your issue. Oh, it's because you have a path that doesn't have a unique identifier in it, and your unique identifier lives inside of your loader. And it's almost the exact same thing for like pagination. If it was pagination, you wouldn't want to update the page you're on when you're prefetching the next page. So if you say, oh, yeah, hover over the next link, and the next link calls the same loader but prefetching the next page, you're not going to want to have it do that. You're going to have to add that to your key. And it's going to be a search print. We need to do this. We need to do this right now. It has to return back to the way that it was. So buckle up, because we're going to get into the guts here. So I had this at one point, and it would be stupid to think I could go back and just grab it out of Git history, because it's not even going to work the same way that it works today. So here's what we need to do. The first thing we need to do is update the documentation. So anywhere that we have key, we've got to update. Identifying routes via search params. So actually, route paths, search params by default are not used to identify matching paths because they're extremely flexible. Flat and can contain lots of unrelated data to your actual definition. However, in some cases you need them to uniquely identify a route match. For example, you have a route that uses search param key. You have a route that uses search param like page index that uniquely identifies the data held inside of the route match, not the markup rendered inside the route. Imagine a user route that uses a search param user ID to identify the specific user in your application. You might model the user ID like this. This means that your user route would need some extra help to identify a specific user. Luckily, the only way to utilize search params in your loader, in your route loaders, is to provide them via a special loader search function option, route option. This option provides you the search params for the route match, provides you all of the search params for the route match, and allows you to return the ones you'll need inside of your loader. So it's not a key, it's loader search. You get search. It's not loader search even. It's well, yeah, it is. I'm gonna keep it as this, but it's not loader search. Depths, loader depths. Could you get anything else out of it other than search? I mean, technically you could have something come from the hash that you need to send to the loader, I guess. Or you could have something come from context. Ooh. Something could come from context that needs to trigger that. But you can access context already. Loader depths. I like loader depths. Let's call it that. And let's do this. User ID, then we just return user ID, just like that. Then in your loader, you have depths. I don't know if I like depths. Context? What if it just goes on to context? I mean, it seems like a reasonable thing to do. Loader context. This is kind of like loader key, just like TanStack query. No, because it's not just a key. Like, it is a loader key, but see, in TanStack query you have to do it twice. You supply it into the key, and then you also have to use it in your function. And I know that it's similar here, but I would rather have better constraints in place, because I guess in TanStack query it's possible for you to get into the same situation where you have something you rely on in your function, but you don't put it in your key. I just don't like that. I don't know. But if it's loader context, isn't it just like before load? Hey, shh, don't worry. If it's before load and then you return loader context, what if loader context, what if we compared? What if we compared loader before load? What are people putting in there before loads? Before load, they're returning loader context. If I did that, I wouldn't have to go as deep into the types. So anytime the loader context changed, like structural sharing changed, it would reload. But then people are doing things in there before load. No, people are doing things in there before load functions that are they're just creating objects all the time. Oh, my wife's calling. Everybody hang tight. And we're back. What about loader match? Return loader data string. Loader match. See, when I yeah. So here's my thinking is that you want to be as fine-grained as possible. And in React, that this doesn't exist out of the gate, right? So the only way to be fine-grained is to pass either immutable or comparable dependencies through thresholds of control. And taking all of the search params and dumping them right into the loader is not a controlled threshold. That's just saying, here's all the crap, do whatever you want, right? I also don't like the idea of having a dependency array detached from where you use it, because then it's possible for them to get out of sync, right? We don't have signals here. I can't just detect that, or like closures or compilers or whatever. I can't just detect that user ID is being used from search inside of this function. I could write some big thing that's like, okay, get the search, get the things, and then call dot get value or dot value. Yeah, I don't want to do any of that because it just doesn't feel right to React users. So I wanted to create another controlled threshold, loader depths. And what I do is I take search out of the loader. So you can't use search in the loader. And people are going to be like, well, where's the search? And I'm going to be like, oh, you got to use loader depths. It's right there in the docs. You do have access to search and loader depths, and you return the user ID, you get it here, and you pass it here. And some people are going to be like, well, that seems really weird. The examples are still going to read great because you can just use params, and then you don't need that. And params are automatically, inside of the dependencies. But search is not. And just like Remix kind of said, oh, it's just kind of this big open-ended search invalidation thing where you have to do comparisons. No, I want to control the thresholds for this very specific purpose so that I can have the most insight into what the user's intent is, the developer's intent. So I think loader depths, where you get the search, you return it in an object, and you use it here. I think this is the best way to do it. So let's see, I'm just going to grab that. So we'll come over here to main. So this is that kitchen sink that I had where I was using key, user ID. But really what it is now is it's loader depths, and you get depths user ID. So they had loader context. No, now it's just depths. I guess I could keep it called search, since search is where people will look for it in loader, but then they're going to be like, oh, but there's nothing in search, and they're going to get all confused. But then renaming it to depths might give us some discoverability that it's like, oh, hey. Or maybe it's just called loader search. But you could return more than just search, like you could return something from context. Depths or search? What do you think? What do I do here? Oh, I had some more questions here. Let's see. Every time. Mind if I ask a kind of unrelated question about RSCs? You're one of the few people I trust about knowing stuff about it. Yes, Corbin, ask away. Ask about the RSCs. Somebody said, I'd like to inform you that TanStack React Virtual is not well documented. I'm not sure if it's just me that sees that or all the React fun boys. Okay. Thanks for the feedback. And everybody laughed. All right. Someone would ask this for this option eventually. Yes, they would. They would have asked for that eventually, Kevin. You're right. For page transitions, we can use page. Yeah. Is TanStack Router still framework agnostic? You know, right now it's not, but it's still built in a way that it could be. Kind of like how React Query started out as React Query. And then we got to get it popular first. We got to get it lots of usage first. And then when it starts getting used more, then we can get some more help around porting it. So it is unifying all the deps that trigger the loader. Context search params. Yes, it's unifying all the dependencies that can uniquely identify the route match and trigger the loader. Route path params are already implicitly a part of it. So you don't need to specify those. I think I'm landing on deps. I just like calling things what they are instead of trying to be all pedantic. So they're dependencies. They are dependencies, and that's how you get them. That's how you get search, through dependencies. So let's just do that. It's loader deps. Boom. Let's see. Key. The only other place was here. So let's change this into loader deps. We get search. We can return. Let's just do user ID. So we only have to write. You're going to be writing something twice. So. Oh, is it not user ID? User ID. Oh, it's because loader deps doesn't have a type. That's fine. Ops, context, ops, deps, user ID. Okay. Okay, now we need to do key. API. Key. Dehydrate data key. Have we done the route key yet? I feel like we have. The route class implements the route API class and used. Route constructor. Route options. Route options. Where's the route options? Route options type. Get parent route, path, ID, validate, search. Somewhere in here there is a key. Here it is. Loader deps. Ops, search, location. Context. Yes. Hello. Can I help you? Do you want to get down? Let's see. Is depth shallow equal checked? No, it'll be deep equals probably. Hang on a second. All right, peeps, the family's probably coming home soon, so we're probably on the last like 15 to 30 minutes of the stream. So let's make it count. All right. So we got loader depths. We're going to give it search. We're going to give it context, T, context, T, all context. We'll give it a couple of things, and it can return, you know, basically anything. A function that will be called before, actually no, it has to be an object. It has to be a record of string to any. A function that will be called before this route is matched to provide additional unique identification to the route match and serve as a dependency tracker for when the match should be reloaded. It should return any serializable value that can uniquely identify the route match from navigation and navigation. By default, path params are already used to uniquely identify a route match. So it's unnecessary to return these here. If your route match relies on search params for unique identification, on search params or context values for unique identification, it's recommended to use, it's required that you return them here so they can be made available in the loader's depths argument. Sweet. All right, let's dig into the actual code. So these things are dying right now. That's fine, but we need to go in and dig into the actual code. Oh, before I forget, so we released a new version. I'm not sure what version. Fork. Let's pull and check out what version. We're on 2.7.4. So let's get rid of that. Let's come to our package, 2.7.4, savage. I'm hitting save. Why is it not? There we go. Router, provider. What if validate search.param could be Z any odd type, although loader depths do sound better? Well, you're already validating the search, and the search goes to more places than just the loader. So it's already validated at this point by the time. Is it? Yeah, because validate search happens in match route. Oh, wait, hold on. So does that match routes. So we come in, got the route cursor, parse match routes. Matched routes for each. So the first thing we do is we because we know the route that it will match without knowing any of this stuff. We know the route. So then we grab the search validator and we validate it, and then we return it. And then if there's any like search param stuff, we throw errors. Then we interpolate the path, and this is where it's going to come into play right here. So right here, this is, let's see, this is where we're going, this is where we need to call route options loader depths to get any additional depths that the route loader function might need to run. We need to do this before we can create the match so we can pass the depths to the route's potential key function, which is used to uniquely identify the route's match and state. This is all correct. This is all very, very correct. Good job. All right, so what's going on here? Reload. Still probably getting, yeah. Okay. Reload. Yeah, it's still getting the error. I don't know. Must be used inside of a route provider component. I don't really know why this is happening. It's gonna take some more debugging. I'm gonna worry about that later when I can do it offline. So right now we got a cannot read properties of undefined reading user ID because it's just not going to be there. So what we need to do, we need to come into our route, and inside of here we have our route loader function. And route loader function, the loader function context has all this stuff. And right now it has access to the full search schema. And it has access to the location. I guess you could get it off the location, but that's gonna be weird. Don't do that. So instead of search, we're gonna call this depths, and instead of t full search schema, we're gonna call it t depths. And I don't want people to have access to the search schema in this location, so I'm actually going to do any search schema. Actually, that's what it defaults to. So do not supply search schema here, so as to demotivate people from trying to shortcut loader depths. So we have t loader depths, which is going to be right here. So now we're just going to replace this. T loader depths. Yeah, it can extend anything. Then we just got to trace this back up. So t full search schema is going to be t loader depths. Anywhere this is used, which is just right here, this is going to be t loader depths. Key is now loader depths, and it's going to return loader depths. It's going to get the search and the, what else did I say? We'll just start with search, and if people want more, we'll give them more. Okay, but then we need to make a new home for t loader depths. So it needs to come before other stuff, but after search schema. So what we really need to do is add t loader depths before t loader data. And t loader depths is going to extend, yeah, any, it can just extend that for now, I guess. Okay, so base route options is now going to be, yeah, you have a type we're not using, sweet. And now, so we need to add that here. So t loader depths is going to live right there, which means it's going to live right here, which means route options, everywhere that route options is used, we have to update. So anywhere that we're doing this, we've got to update. T loader depths, T loader depths, T loader depths. This is a root route with context that could technically have loader depths. So we need to add it there as well. And this is the root route, which also could still have loader depths, so we need to add it there. And we got a not found route, which does support loader data, so it could live there as well. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, so now we have all these errors. We need to bring in loader depths. It's going to be right before, let's see, anywhere that we have this, we can just add it right after that. And anywhere that we have, okay, so anywhere that we have route context loader data, we can add it right there. Route with context. Root route extends route, so we need to add it here. Oh, I already did. It's got to be right there. So loader data. Oh no, I didn't add it yet. Depths and data just look really similar. And then loader data, so inside of the route, so we have to add it right here. Okay. Now inside of, let's see, we just added a new generic, so there's going to be some any's that we have to increase. There we go. Is there any other any's? What about this one? I think we added it. Is it before or after children? Children is the second to last one. So we added it before. So we just need to pop another one. Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, 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 no. There we go. That's not a real type. That's in the docs. Okay, we did it there. We got that one. Root route needs another any. This one apparently needed 2. Okay, that's all the any's that we have. So file route, did it have any? Okay, so file route needs loader depths, which needs to live right here. Loader data, loader depths, and then okay, so now we just need to fix some stuff in here. So we no longer have match ID equals key. So we actually don't even need to do, so this is what we need to do. Plus loader depths string. Loader depths hash is really what it is. Const loader depths hash equals loader depths. If it's there, we're going to call it. It doesn't accept location yet, so we're going to get rid of it. Whoa, whoa, Nelly. Hold on, I'm getting ringed. And hold on. So all right, so that should just, let's see, that's going to give us back, that's not the hash, that's the loader depths. So we want the loader depths hash. No, we don't need to escape the JSON. We can just stringify the entire thing. And I'm pretty sure we don't need to do any like stable object ordering here. Possibly. Hey, guess what, everybody? My son just got home from school. That means family time is going to be starting soon. So thank you everybody for hanging out with me today. This was awesome. Hey, look, I have boom. Oh, I can just make that a little bit bigger. All right. So thanks for hanging out. I'm going to try and do this more often. It's a lot of fun. It helps me think, and I really appreciate everybody hanging around. So